So we saw Sing Street, which is a great film from John Carney, who did Once, which came out, I think, 2007, which is a great Irish film. They won Best Original Song that year. It's about a bunch of Irish school kids sort of finding, I think, themselves and finding their music and what they're going to do with their music. I really enjoyed it. It almost was cheesy, but it kept me going and wasn't, which is, I think, what you want in that sort of film, where you're like, oh, you're on the edge of this, but all right, okay, you got me. I think he really wrote what he knew, and that's one of the most important qualities, I think, in any director. And I think he did a great job of also, it's very much about the music, which I think is something you probably enjoyed, and they're going on this sort of musical journey, and they're kind of at that pubescent age and finding their way and identities through the music of the mid-'80s, which was really fun to see them sort of adapt and morph into these various styles and then integrate it into the movie. And their songs are really great and catchy. And
so, Dana, you're a little bit younger than me, so I wanted to ask, with your point of reference, what did you think of the music in the movie, and were you familiar with it? Things like Duran Duran, Spandau Ballet, Hall & Oates, and The Cure. Is that like the Stone Age to you?
I don't think it's the Stone Age, and I think it's actually sort of coming through a retro resurgence, which, good or bad, it's also sort of very organic for the film. It's the time that they were growing up in 20 or 30 years. I don't know if they're going to be making films with One Direction as that. I kind of hope not, but it's clearly like appropriate for the time, and you can tell that he grew up with this sort of thing, and he's putting his heart into it. And I think that all the actors did a really great and cute job with it, and their performances were adorable. And I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean, like, yeah, you got me. I could have hated this film, but you guys got me.
I love the way you would take, a song or a style, and they would write a song around it. They were emulating the things, and that's where, the last song that was kind of like Hall & Oates' Man-Eater, that Drive It Like You Stole It, which is, really the big closing song with the whole musical scene. The way they would kind of morph those original songs from the 80s and find a way to, to recreate that sound and that style.
Yeah, and I think it was good. It wasn't parody. It was genuine tribute to that time and that sort of theme.
Well, I would suggest that anyone who loves music will love this movie, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So go see Sing Street. You know what we need to do? We need to find something for you. You know the way Jan Wall has her hats? She gives a movie 4 out of 5 hats. We need to figure out. So
your rating system. We're going to find out the rating system.
We need a rating system. So
I
Dana,
give it 4 out of 5 Mohawks.
I was going to say, Dana's got a cute little mohawk. So we'll post a photo of Dana.
I think it's Mohawks. I really think. Why don't we do that?
Okay.
I love that. I think that's perfect. And no one else is. I guarantee no one else is doing it.
Right.
In movie reviews, and I
can never cut my hair again, I guess.
Okay. So Dana, then for Sing Street, how many mohawks are you going to give it?
I'd give it 4 out of 5 Mohawks.
Very good.
Perfect. I love that. And she's here today talking about 2 music-related films. We're talking about how much we enjoyed and how much fun Sing Street was earlier. Now we're talking about something in a very different direction, the Patrick Stewart movie Green Room.
Yes, this is definitely not going to be a movie for everyone. It's very intense if you like gore and violence and not arbitrary and, unnecessary violence. It's all in service of the story. But, if you like that and you like... what did he call it? A punk rock siege film is what the director, Jeremy Saulnier, called it. Yeah, go see that movie. It's definitely the polar opposite. But again, I think it's a director who was writing what they know. He had a background in the hardcore punk scene. And it's a bunch of an up-and-coming punk band that go play a neo-Nazi white supremacist gig and kind of don't know exactly what they're getting into, and things go horribly awry and chaos ensues.
And Matt, you'll be interested to know, so this band, these 4 kids from Washington, D.C. in this punk rock band end up in this backwoods club, a skinhead club in Oregon. And they didn't realize before they got there that it's all going to be, Nazi punks. And they decided, they opened their show with the cover of the Dead Kennedys.
Which is Nazi punks F off.
Right.
It's basically the song.
They knew that that's their audience. And that's when they just decided, and that's where everything goes south. And they kept true to the theme of that song, and then... probably bit off more than they could chew.
Right. I mean, it's interesting because, there was such a big movement in the early punk and new wave days. There was something called Rock Against Racism that a lot of bands and ska bands and punk bands would play back in the 80s, especially with some of the riots that were happening over in England at the time. And a lot of the DC hardcore scene was very much the same way.
But they're all wearing black flag T-shirts, right? And the whole 9 yards. What did you think, Patrick Stewart as a white supremacist, kind of leader of these thugs, was kind of unsettling, huh?
So unsettling. And I grew up loving Star Trek and watching that, and I've never disliked him more. Would go so far as to maybe say hated him more. He's a great villain or antagonist. I don't even know if you could even call him a villain in this.
Yeah.
It's a really subtle and he's a quiet performance. Like his voice is just so quiet in it, but it's really intense and it grips you and then just horrors ensue.
Wow.
I sort of spent the movie just sinking lower and lower in my chair.
Tribute to Patrick Stewart for his resolve in the way that he's a great actor, isn't he?
Oh, he's fantastic. I think the whole cast was really great in it. Anton Yelchin is Pat, who's the bassist, who the joke is that bassists are expendable, but he does a pretty good job not being expendable. Yeah, I think it was really intense. And again, I don't think this movie is going to be for everyone because one, it's rated R, and two, it's just some gory stuff.
And unsettling for some people.
Yes.
We'll find. You know, Dana, we established earlier that you have a beautiful mohawk, and we want to do something different. So our rating system is going to be mohawks. How many mohawks are you going to give Green Room?
I'm going to give it 3 3/4. Is that 3
Sure.
3/4
Sure.
for a mohawk?
Absolutely.
Only I think it's a really great film, and I think I think the wide appeal is definitely not going to be as much. But if you love music, and especially if that's your type of music, it's great. And I think if you've seen the director's other films, he doesn't do violence just because it's violence. He does violence because it's part of the storytelling.
What were some of the other films that he's done?
He has done Murder Party and Blue Ruin. Blue Ruin came out a couple of years ago, and it was a big hit at Cannes. So again, you may not have heard of him unless you're like a super movie nerd and been following the circuits. But I think this is going to be a great entry for him into the world of studio filmmaking.
Yeah, what is his name?
Jeremy Saulnier.
Okay, great. Absolutely. Well, I want to see it anyway.
Yeah.
I do, especially having a background in every style of music, including all the punk stuff. But